Hey, gun people, prepper survivalists, people want to know about what cops think. I wanted to talk about, I got a couple questions about rape. So, from a cop's perspective, okay, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of negative comments because of the title, because I'm going to title this, How to Be a Good Rape Victim. And of course I'm not promoting rape, and I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I'm trying to give you insight from a cop that when I'm dealing with rape victims or investigating a rape case, what makes it best for us to catch the bad guy. So obviously there's no bad rape victims. I mean, there's ones that are better for the cops, better for our investigation, better for the prosecution. So I'm going to discuss a few things. I made some notes here, and so I'm going to be going over my notes. But there's a lot of rape stats out there, and I think a couple questions that I got were more in the area of what would you do if you, what advice would you give to somebody who was being raped, or how not to be raped, or what to look for. And I'll cover a little bit of that, but a rapist, like any other criminal, it's hard, you know, it's kind of like kids. We teach them when they're little, look for the bad guy, look for the stranger. Normally the people that hurt them are people they know, they're school teachers, they're priests that are molesting them, there's, you know, a crazy uncle that you didn't know about that's on drugs, or whatever. Somebody that knows the child is normally more the abuser than a stranger. But we get into this stranger danger and what a stranger looks like, and kids tend to trust people that don't look like a stranger. Well, in a rape scenario, it's kind of the same thing. There's some stats out there that most rapists are between, I don't know, something like 15 and 30 or 35, something like that. So if you're over 40, only date people over 40. No, that ain't. I'm just saying. I think most crimes, period, cops are, I was always accused of being a racist, a sexist, you know, picking on somebody because of their color, because of their sex, because of where they're from, all kind of reasons. The big thing that people could accuse me of, and it would have been true, is you pick on young people because they're right. Law enforcement focuses on most crimes are committed by the younger crowd. That's when they're doing it. You're older, you know, as you get older, you don't want to go to jail, or you get more mature, you figure out it's not worth it. You know, if you started when you're young and you continue and you're old and you haven't been caught, then you'll be an old criminal. But most young criminals are caught, put in jail, and they become old in prison. You don't see a lot of old people committing their first crime going to prison because it's just not as normal. Does it happen? Sure. So the stats for rapists are maybe the younger crowd. I think most crimes are committed by the younger crowd. If I'm driving and I see a young guy driving, an old person driving, I'm focusing on the young guy. I'm looking at what they're up to. If I see 4 young guys in a car, or 4 young people in a car, and the music's blaring and there's smoke barreling out the windows, I'm watching that car than I am watching the little old blue-haired lady driving from Walmart parking lot. So, young people obviously are your biggest threat for most crimes. Doesn't mean an old guy can't, but just commonality, common sense, statistics. Other people will probably negative, oh, it's profiling, oh, you're profiling, you shouldn't judge. That's BS. Cops judge people all the time, I judge people all the time, and you know what? Keeps you safe. Animals, I'm a big horse guy. Horses judge things all the time. If they see a bush moving, they're stopping and they're looking and they're trying to judge, is there something behind the bush or not? It's not because they hate bushes, it's because they want to stay alive and they want to make sure nothing's going to get them. And if people did that, we'd have a lot more smarter people, and probably crooks wouldn't be as successful as they are. So when you're getting into rape suspect, on who you're looking for, young people are one. Usually it's somebody you know. I think the stat is something like 80 to 85% of most rapes are done by somebody they know. Now, not necessarily somebody you know that you're sleeping with or married with. Date rape, I've got my own opinion on that, about the leftist liberal side that wants to make the bad guy always the male. So they want to create their stats and kind of make every woman think that every guy is capable of raping everybody. I don't believe that, but whatever. So it's probably somebody you know. Either you've met, had a package delivered to you, worked with them, ran into them at the mall, you had some sort of contact. That's the high percentage of the rape. So should you be more careful with people you know? I think you ought to be careful all the time. So trying to pick out who's going to rape you isn't going to be very successful. If people could pick out who was going to commit a crime against them, we wouldn't have so many victims. Most people are victims because I think a lot of times they're not enough aware. They're not suspicious enough. They're too trusting. They believe, if government gives you a whistle or tells you to dial 911 that you'll be okay. Be aware of your surrounding. Don't let your guard down, and always have a plan. There's a guy in the gun world, and I can't think, it's either Thunder Ranch or one of the other big training places. He says, be nice to everybody and shake their hand, but always have a plan to kill them. And people are going to be like, that's cynical, you can't go through life like that. Yeah, you can. Okay? When you meet somebody, you should always be evaluating if something goes down. Do I know this person? Does he have a weapon? Is he capable? Am I trapped? If he wanted to rob me or hurt me, could I do this? Now, do you have to monopolize your life all the time? No, but you need to be aware of that scenario and be able to run through it when you're sitting. Cops always like to sit with their back to the wall in the corner of a restaurant so they can see the door, so they can see if somebody walks in with a mask or holding a gun and they know the place is going to be robbed. They want to be able to see it since they have a gun and they can react. You don't see a lot of cops sitting with their back to doors because of survival instinct. It's kind of like, hey, we've kind of learned through the years, when people walk in, the quicker you see them, the better your odds of survival. As a cop, you definitely want to see the bad guy before the bad guy sees you. If you're sitting with your back and you're chewing on your steak and eating your free French fries that they're giving you, and then all of a sudden a guy comes up behind and hits you with a gun, not only you can feel stupid, but now he's got your gun and he's able to do more damage, and you were pretty ineffective. So when you see cops sitting, most of the time in restaurants, they're going to be in a far corner, big distance, so they have room to react, so they have room to maneuver, and they'll be facing the door and the exit door toward the cash register area. Because if the place gets robbed, that's a good place to be. And cops off duty do it, and I still do it. And, it's just something that you get in there. So let's talk about if you're a rape victim. Now, there's different philosophies. This is mine. I know it's not the only one. I know it's not right, and I know people are going to disagree, but hey, that's what makes the internet great. You get different viewpoints. This is my viewpoint. I think women do better that fight back. I don't think women do good by playing this passive, oh, don't resist, don't agitate the guy, don't get in a fight, you'll make it work. I don't believe all that crap. I think if a guy's already decided to rape you, it's a violent act. It's an act to where cops can actually shoot somebody if they're in a process of raping or running away. It's a felony. It's a violent felony. You can actually shoot a guy in the back. It's one of the few things you can shoot a guy back when you don't have a weapon, because he is his own weapon. So a rape is a violent act, and I don't think you get along by cooperating, personally. That's me. I'm from Sparta. I'm from, you come in my area, I'm going to kick your butt down the hole. Okay, but that's me, and I think women do better. From my experience with rapes, women that do better and did better fought back. They feel better afterwards. They don't question as much. They don't say, damn, I wish I could have. I wonder if I could. They know, you know what, I fought like a Dickens and I messed that guy up and I scratched his eye out and I shoved my thumbs in his eyes and I scratched him and I had his DNA under my fingernails and I bit his freaking ear off and his ear was in my mouth and I saved that shit for the cops. I mean, that's the kind of violence. You have to fight violence with violence. That's why I'm big anti-gun control, all this gun control. If we take guns from good people, somehow that's going to make bad people better. It doesn't. The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, and when you take it away from good guys, you only have bad guys. Mexico, perfect example. Nobody can have a gun. The cartels got more damn guns than anybody. They got more than the cops. So they took over, but now they've dipped armed their citizens, so they can't even get help from the citizens. So now the only people you're fighting is the government with guns and the bad guy with guns. That's not a good fight. But let me get off my tangent with guns. There's another philosophy that rape victims say that they don't want women to carry pepper spray, knives, or guns, or tasers, or shockers, because the bad guy can take it away from you. So it's better not to have a woman, the women groups are saying it's better for women not to have a weapon. I disagree with that. I think a well-armed woman is a much better victim than an unarmed victim, okay? If you're being raped and you got a gun, now can they take it away? Yeah. And I talk about this with your gun. If you're going to have a gun, you have to mentally prepare yourself, I'm ready to use it. I'm ready to act. I know I can take action. I know I will take action. I'm not going to hesitate. I'm not going to think about it. If you put a gun in your hand, every time you put it in your hand, you need to say, you know what? I could kill somebody with this. But you know what? If it's between me and them, it's going to be them. So I think you ought to be armed. Now, do you have to have a gun? No, I prefer. I think if all women had guns, rapes would go down tremendously. I can almost guarantee it. But that's me. So what do I mean when how to be a good rape victim? I remember this one rape that I had. The victim comes in, and if we have a suspect on a rape victim, we'll set up what's called a six-pack. And a six-pack is basically 6 pictures in a little bitty packet of people that look alike, when the suspect's one of them. And we show it to the suspect and says, do you recognize any of these people? Or is there anyone in there that you recognize? We used to say, do you see the guy that did this? And then the lawyers got all into it and said you're leading them, and now you're implying that he's in there and you're forcing them to make... So now we just say, do you recognize anybody in here? And then if they go, yeah, I recognize that guy, how do you recognize him? Well, he's the motherfucker that raped me. Oh shit, I'm sorry. Sometimes kids might. He's the guy that raped me. Okay. Then that's what we put down in our little log. Okay, they identified this person. Now the thing about six-pack is that each picture is always numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cops never put the bad guy in position 1 or 6, because every time they did, now there's case law out there that you're leading the witness and you're implying that if you show them a six-pack, most people will pick 1 or 6. So that's an unfair advantage to the bad guy if you put him at 1 or 6. So when you have a six-pack, know that the suspect's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5. So of course, don't tell the defense that you knew this, because then they'll be screaming, "Oh, it's not fair! My poor rape client is the poor victim." All right. So when you show a six-pack, you show it to them. You go, "You recognize anybody?" And they look and they go, "That's the person." The problem I have with six-packs is it's gotten so damn politically correct that you got to have 6 guys that look almost like... Even I can barely pick out the bad guy, and I make up the six-pack. It's like shit, because they have a computer system now that you just punch in a DMV and you put in, he's 5'8", he's a white male, he's this, he's that, he's this, weighs this much, and he's got blue eyes or brown eyes, and then the computer spits out all the people that match that description. So when you get all these pictures together, and if the suspect had a mustache, you can't have just 2 guys and a suspect with a mustache. Everybody's got to have a mustache. If the guy had a goatee, everybody's got to have a goatee, because the defense attorney has said, hey, it's unfair. Now, don't get me wrong, I crack on defense attorneys, but they're a valuable asset to keep the government and prosecution in check, because without them, you would have much more of a rogue government than we already got. So, when you do a six-pack, they look so much alike, it's hard to pick out the bad guy. So sometimes it's kind of unfair advantage. And you know what? Some would say, look, if you just got raped by a guy, you should know what he looked like, and you ought to be able to pick him up out of 6 people. I don't know. I think sometimes it's confusing for me, and I'm making the damn thing up, and I'm like, shit, I can barely pick out the bad guy. I'm not sure that's so fair for a victim who was traumatically and violently, you know, abused or raped or whatever you want to call it, to have her pick out the suspect. But regardless, we show a six-pack. So this one lady comes in, we get the guy who we think raped her, we call her in, we set up a six-pack. She comes in freaking drunk. Now, I know there's going to be some woman out there, well, she was just raped, and if she had a drink, look, I understand that she may cope with her alcohol, and that may be a coping, and she may be going through stress. But it doesn't help my case when you come in freaking drunk to try and pick out the bad guy. I'm trying to put this guy in jail, and you're coming in drunk. So, what do? If we send her home, They're going to go, well, you called her in. Why didn't you call her in? Well, she was under the influence. Also, she drove there. Did you arrest her? Did you do a DUI? Did you find out? Also, you just let her go. So then they turned it on to the cops. So cops are in this catch-22 a lot of times when we're doing these cases. So she comes in drunk. She's already at the PD, and she's got alcohol in her breath, and I'm like, shit. So, you know what? We show her the six-pack. Well, she goes in there, and as I probably predicted, she couldn't pick the guy out. And I went, well, shit. Now that hurts the case a lot. Because later, if you prove the guy through DNA or something, the defense is going to use that she failed to pick him out in the six-pack when you showed it to her. Okay? Now, I don't like that, but it's kind of the rules. And I'm kind of one of those guys that I try to play by the rules, and I expect other people to play by the rules, and I don't like it when government officials, prosecutors, cops break the laws and bend the laws. I just don't like it, because it's a slippery slope and it leads to bad things. But everybody wants to put the rape guy away. So I come out and I go, damn, she didn't pick him out. So my partner goes, oh, that's bullshit. Let me show it to her. So he goes in, comes out in like 30 seconds. Okay, she picked him out. Well, now, there's going to be a lot of people out there, oh, cops are dirty, you should have turned him. Look, I'm not turning in a cop. I didn't see, I don't know what he did, I'm claiming dumb. All I know is he went in there and she picked it out for him, she didn't pick it out for me. Well, guess who the prosecution called for the trial? The other guy. They didn't call me. The defense never knew about me. Nobody ever knew that I showed it to her and done it. Now, some people are going to say, well, you should have went and told. Look, as a cop, you can't be contacting the fence. I've been there and done that, and that turns out really bad really quick, and you better be ready to give up your law enforcement career or fight for it pretty damn hard if you go to the fence and give them information. So there's this barrier that cops can't talk to the fence. We can't be on. Prosecutors are the worst, one, because they're attorneys, two, because they have the power, and they have the cops that work for them. So they are the absolute worst about manipulating, hiding, fixing, and doing things, which is why I don't trust it, which is why I've turned against the death penalty. I used to be real big pro-death penalty. I'm not anymore, because I've watched dirty prosecutors manipulate cops, the law, the system, hide things, distort things, not call people. If you call an expert witness, and I've been in this situation several times, where a cop uses force, they'll ask me to review use of force so I can say it was justified. Well, if I say I don't think it was justified, I think the guy overused force, they go, oh, we don't want to use you. Never mind, we're going to give it to someone else. So they give it to another team player, another good cop who's part of the team, and he says, oh yeah, the force was authorized. Do I ever get called? No. Does the defense ever know that I said it wasn't? No. Can I tell anybody? I guess I could if I want to go look for another job. But that's the problem with cops. So let me stay on the rape thing here. Let me see what my time is here. I start yapping about this crap. Go off on my tangents. All right, I'm at 18 minutes. So I'm limping because my horse kicked. No, my horse don't kick me. I was playing basketball and my knee's swollen up. So anyway, here's some things that I think are important about being a good rape. Don't show up drunk. Now, back to the cop where he got the lady to pick the right thing. There's going to be some people that'll say, good, we got the right guy. Well, my problem with that is we didn't get him the right way. And if we start bending the rules, where do we stop? And how far does it go? So, if you're a rape victim, if you understand the problems we're going to have, if you understand that, here's how you could make it a little bit better, make it easier on a cop to where we can get a good conviction easy. We can give the prosecutor a good case. It'll be what I call a clean case. That case was not clean to me. It was dirty. And to me, it falls under fruits of the poisonous tree and anything else we got later. All kind of issues come up with that legality-wise. So, I say fight back. If you're being raped, I say fight back. And the big reason for fighting back is get some DNA. DNA is one of the best evidence things we have, and if you can get it under your fingernails, in your mouth, on the clothes, on the floor, if you can get him to bleed, now we got his blood. Even if he doesn't complete the rape, we still get good DNA evidence. If he completes the rape and he has sex and we get semen from you, That's good too, but a lot of times women want to clean up, and I understand that, and it's hard to say, look, you were just raped and you had this nasty, filthy piece of crap all over you. The first thing you want to do is wash yourself and try to get clean and clean yourself up. You wash away all our evidence. You wash away any pubic hair that he could have left, which would have been more DNA. You wash away any semen. You wash away any saliva. If he was licking your neck, biting you, if he was kissing you. All that is great evidence that we can get. But if you go wash up and take a shower and clean up, we lose that. So, if you can pull his hair when you're fighting, if you can pull his hair and drop it on the ground, you're going to have a lot of getting on me. If I'm the guy, you ain't getting much hair on me. But grab the guy's hair as much as you can and rip and pull and throw it and scatter it. Because those are things that if the guy gets away, or if you're moved to another area and then we come up on a crime scene, when we process that crime scene, we're going to find that hair. That's going to give us a match. We'll be able to get DNA. Now we're going to know more information about the guy when we catch him later to prove we got the right guy. Let's see. Save your underwear. I know that sometimes rapes are reported the next day or a few days later. People try to deal with it. They don't want to report it. They're embarrassed. They're scared. They're nervous. So they kind of want to disembowel the whole thing, kind of get rid of everything, just throw everything away, take a shower and say, you know what, I'm not going to tell anybody, but I don't want anything to remind me of it. Well, now our evidence is gone. And then you call us a week later or 4 or 5 days later after you talk to somebody and they convince you to call us, and we don't have all that. So it makes it really difficult. So, and when I say save your underwear or your clothing, I understand that most rape victims change and get cleaned up before we get there. They look in the mirror and they're trashed, and they may have blood on them, and they're crying, and they're mascara, and they may have been drinking. They may drink afterwards. If you drank before, try not to drink before you call the cops. It makes your statement more credible. It makes it better for us when we're writing our report that we didn't smell alcohol on you. If you have alcohol, we have to annotate that, and then the defense is going to use that. Wasn't it true you were drunk? Wasn't it true? You know, they're always going to try to blame the victim, because that's their job, is to get their guy off, and it's also their job to make the prosecution prove their case. So, if you can refrain from alcohol, great. Fight, scream, claw, spit, grab objects to use as weapons. And when I say grab objects to use as weapons, I'm talking about pens, pencils, TV remotes, phone calls, pictures off the wall, break the glass, throw the glass. Anything that you can do to cut the guy, to cause him, delay him, to make him work harder to get to his final act. The odds are somebody may hear you. He may say, you know what, my plan was to do this easy and not. It's really getting out of hand. Screw it, I'm getting out of here. Because most rapists are kind of cowards anyway. So if you can make it harder for them, they're probably, the chance of them abandoning their rape and running is better. Now that doesn't mean you can get clean up and say it didn't happen. You still want to report it. Because most people that rape, they're going to rape again if they tried it. So we want to get them in the system. We want to have good reports. A lot of rapes go unreported, especially if the girl's been drinking and she's at a party, and, you know, a guy and a girl hook up, next thing you know, they're both under influence, and they end up having sex or forced sex or whatever you want to call it, rape. And then they don't want to report it because they don't want to be the victim, and they know they're going to be called in and say, well, you know, if a guy does that, he's probably going to do it again, so it's better if we get him in the system. Personal choice. You got to decide. I mean, obviously, most cops want to put bad guys in jails, especially rapists, so it'd be nice. Also, when you're running around the house, when you're trying to fight this guy and move, get to different areas. You're making him move. You're moving. You're leaving DNA trails. You're leaving footprints. You're breaking things. He may cut his hand. If you can get to the kitchen for knives, forks, spoons. If you can get under the kitchen cabinet to the chemicals, squirt him in the face with Windex, spray, acid, Drano, whatever, bleach. All that's going to better your chances to survive. Now, some people's going to say, don't do that because you may get on you and yet. You know what? When I'm fighting for my life, I'm okay with a little bleach on me or burning me or whatever. I don't care. If I'm fighting for my life, I'm fighting to win. And if I have to die to win, I'd rather die fighting and trying to win than die just being a victim. So again, this warrior mentality that you have to get in the mindset of. If I'm ever raped, and thinking about this and coming up with this plan and kind of having all these things, you know, where's my path and a window? I can break a window, I can throw a chair through a window, I can rip this blind off and use the wood stat, I can rip this tree, I can hit him with the tree. I mean, there's plenty of things around the house that you can grab and use as a weapon. And again, target areas: eyes, throat, TMJ, head, ears. All those are your target areas. Groin area, if you can get to it. The problem with the groin area is if you don't get it good and you haven't practiced and worked it good, a lot of times the bad guy can grab your leg and then he's got you on one leg and you can't really run away in it. So, you know, using the groin area is a little... bleach, you know, if you have a TV or a radio, you can go ahead and grab that and toss that at his head too. Anything you can grab and throw is great. If you can get the refrigerator, ice, glass jars, a hot sauce bottle that's pointed, you can grab it and stab with that. I mean, there's all kind of good weapons. A pot and pan, you can get the handle of a pan, hit him with a pot, or stab him with the handle of a pot and pan. All those things are going to get a guy off of you. You may break the skin, you're getting DNA, you're getting scrapes of skin on different things. It's going to make the scene, especially if you're taken from that scene and we're trying to do an investigation or process a crime scene later without you or the suspect there. All this is good clues. It shows you're fighting, it shows you're running, it shows a path, it shows the guy stepping over things, climbing over things. He may trip, he may spit, he's going to put his hands on things and leave fingerprints. All those things are good, and that helps solve the case. If you're being a victim of crime, having that in your mind on how am I going to help the people find this guy to do this probably isn't going to be on the forefront, but it ought to come into play. I mean, a lot of cases have been solved because people have locked in a trunk and they put their fingerprints on the top of the trunk. So when they cleaned out the trunk, later we found the fingerprints in an area where the guy didn't think the person would touch the hand. So it's important to kind of think about those things. You want to make the guy... Check my time here. Oh, man, my knee stiffens up when I sit down. Oh. All right, I'm at 26 here. I don't know if I'll do a number 2. Only got 4 minutes. All right, I'll try to rush through this, and then if I get enough questions, I'll come back and do a little bit more detail. Defensive wounds. You want to scratch him, scrape, etc. You want to cause defensive wounds on him because when we're doing rape investigations, we get sexual predators in the area and we take pictures of their face, hands, arms. We look for any type of wounds, cuts, scratches that might have happened in a violent attack, and that's going to be used either to clear them or to implicate them. If we have suspects or we stop a guy with a car in the area, obviously we're going to say, does he have defensive wounds? So when you can scratch arms, hands, bite, take a chunk out of their skin, bite something on their face, scratch their face. Things that other people are going to notice, so we contact them later. If we contact a friend or do a neighborhood canvas, we're going to find people who say, yeah, you know, I noticed it's kind of funny, his face kind of scratched up. He said he was working on trees. That's going to be good evidence for us. Wasp spray. I've said this before on one of the things, man. A can of wasp spray, if you shoot somebody in the face with wasp spray, it's brutal. So keeping a can of that by your door or by your bed or in your house or somewhere where if you don't have pepper spray and you can't have pepper spray, you go get you a good can of wasp spray. It'll reach out about 15 feet and you get some of that in your eyes and the fight's over. I mean, you swell up and it's going to leave a lot of damage and we're going to be able to find the guy pretty easy. So I think wasp spray is a great, just as good as mace, if not better. But again, if you can get to your cabinet where you have all that Raid and bleach and all that, that's great. Don't take a shower. Of course, if you want to take a shower, you wash away all our DNA. I think I already covered that a little bit. If you do take your clothes off and you go, you know what, I got to get this off me, I feel filthy, I don't want the cops seeing me like this, it's bloody, whatever. Try to do it in one area. When we do a rape kit, we lay out a blanket so when you undress on it, everything falls in this area so we can collect everything. So if you end up taking your clothes off, grab a plastic bag. If you can lay one on the ground, do it over that, then you can roll it up and put it in a plastic bag, great. If not, put all your clothes and everything in a plastic bag. If you use a towel or you wipe up with some a paper towel or clean, save those in the same bag so we can have all that good DNA. I mean, that's going to really help us. Of course, look, people are going to say, why did you do it? Why didn't you leave it? Why didn't you wait for the cops? Well, you know what? I'd rather have it if you had to go cleaned up than not have it at all and just say, you know what, I took a shower, I don't care. I just wanted that filth off me. So, Again, washing the hands, washing the neck, spitting, brushing your teeth, all that's going to remove any pubic hairs, DNA, scales. If you bit them, we might get some tissue. If you spit in a cup, if you have to go to the bathroom, I'd say go in a pot or in a glass so we can have your urine. That's going to maybe give us some more DNA from him. Also, pubic hairs, if he used a rubber, it may give some. It's just going to give extra stuff for the forensics to find when they go through the stuff. So don't throw it away. Try not to clean up your house because we're going to want to go through it. It's not your fault, obviously. Women don't want to report it right away because they look like crap. They look like they're beat up, they're dirty. They look in the mirror and they don't like what they see, so they want to change it before they call the cops, so they know the cops are going to take them to the hospital. Look, don't worry about that. You're a victim of a crime. Cops aren't going to judge you. The hospital's not going to judge you. I understand that what you may be feeling, so you got to do what you got to do, but if you don't clean up, you increase our chances. And then, darn, there was something I wanted to say there. Rape will still be looking. We're looking for blood, semen, hair, saliva, prints, DNA, anything. Keep any towels used to clean up. If you want a female officer, now, I totally understand. A girl's just raped by a guy. She don't want some guy coming in there with a badge and a gun and interviewing her. I can understand that. Some rape victims like when the cops show up. They like a man with a gun. They feel safe. They're insecure. They've been beat up and they're like, you know what? I'm safe now. This guy's got a gun. He's a cop. I'm safe. So some women like a male officer. That's okay. But if you want a female officer, don't ask for it. Say, you know what? I feel better talking to a female officer. I don't want to talk to a male officer. I don't want to be touched by a male officer. I don't want any males around me. I want a female. Perfect. Then go do that. You may get an inexperienced officer or less experienced officer, but that's okay. And the only reason I say that is a lot of women don't stay in law enforcement too long. They, 5 to 7 years, most of them either quit or retire with the medical. So there's not a lot of older female officers with a lot of experience. But you may get lucky and have one, and it's not going to be the end of the world, but if you want a female officer, ask for one. And then, of course, I already talked about refrain from drinking. It clouds your statement. It clouds your credibility. They're going to be used. Report it fast rather than later. So if you're going to report it, call the cops right away. You don't want to wait a few days because then that makes it worse. I'm at 31 minutes. All right. Well, that there. Hope that helps. How to be a good rape victim. Send an email.